Hello and welcome to our special dedicated to one of the planet's most intimidating creatures, the shark. I'm Kerry Sanders. They've been around us for millions of years, but sharks are still so mysterious. Over the next half hour, we're diving into their habits and what makes them so fascinating. These days, it seems like we're seeing sharks more often. The number of shark attacks was up in 2021, and 40% of them happened in the waters off of Florida. But experts say there's a logical reason why. Take a look. This morning, as many Americans plan a warm winter getaway, if you're headed to the beach, take note. Shark attacks are up, according to new research. There were 73 attacks in 2021, and in the year before, just 52. That's a 40% spike.
We just look at unprovoked bites where people are minding their own business, swimming or surfing.
Gavin Naylor is the director of the Florida Program for Shark Research. Naylor says with fewer people at beaches because of COVID lockdowns, shark attacks had dipped significantly in 2020. So the increase is actually a return to normal pre-pandemic numbers, like in 2019, when there were 64 unprovoked attacks. So as we see more people in the last 12 months or so going back out, going to the beach, there's a correlation to the encounters with sharks?
Absolutely. We believe that shark bites are really just the consequence of the number of sharks in the water at the same time as the number of people in the water.
Of those 73 attacks last year, 9 were fatal.
It felt like a slight push and like a sharp mosquito bite.
Nemanja Spasovic survived a terrifying attack off the California coast. He had been snorkeling, fishing for crabs, when a great white bit. 9 people died in shark attacks last year. You could have been one of those. It was close.
I'm super lucky. So yeah, like it is kind of a reality, and it's like a scary fact.
Nemanja says he has a scar but no limp, and he's returned to surfing and crabbing. The majority of shark bites happen off Florida, and many involve black-tip sharks, which migrate south close to shore. Still, experts say attacks are very rare. There's no reason to think that if we're in the water, they're hunting humans?
Absolutely not. No. If sharks wanted to hunt humans, it would be so easy for them. We'd have thousands of bites every week because we're such easy targets for them, like little sausages in the water.
Again, the experts say sharks are not interested in humans as food, but that doesn't mean a shark sighting isn't terrifying. NBC's Emily Akeda has a look at what happened when a monster, 1,000-pound, 12-foot great white swam through the Jersey Shore this spring.
It was the end of April, about 10:30 at night, when off the Jersey Shore, the tracker pinged. A 12-foot-long, 1,000-pound great white shark was on the move, cruising up the East Coast on the hunt for seals. But normally, the massive creatures don't swim that far north until June.
Sometimes they take a shot at it because maybe once out of every 10 years, it's warm enough up there where they can move in and eat seals starting a month early.
But when he hit the cold water, the great white thought twice and turned back south again to North Carolina. His name is Ironbound, after the island in Nova Scotia where the research group O-Search first tagged him.
He is a determined, young, mature male trying to make his way in the white shark world, and he has the attitude to do so.
Since late 2019, Ironbound has traveled 13,000 miles from Canada down to the Florida Keys, where just like the snowbirds, great whites like to warm up in the winter. And while 12 feet may sound gargantuan, they can get a lot bigger. Check out this one, Deep Blue, caught on camera in Hawaii. Forget for a moment the fearlessness of that diver and look at the size of the shark, 20 feet long, weighing 2.5 tons. The great white population has been rebounding for the last 2 decades. Cape Cod, Massachusetts has become a hot spot. Lots of seals, lots of whites. The backdrop for that Hollywood classic. At least 47 people were attacked by sharks in the United States last year, including a California surfer and a 12-year-old girl swimming off the Maryland coast.
It felt like something ran into my legs, and I ran out, and I find blood everywhere.
In 2020, a great white killed a woman off the coast of Maine. But oceanographers stress that shark attacks are rare, and this predator is vital.
Well, they manage the ocean system, and if the ocean system's not working, we die. And these guys are the system managers. So if they thrive, we thrive.
Where is Ironbound right now? Well, you can actually follow his movements on OCEARCH's tracking system. Keep in mind, great whites return to the same summer feeding spots very often, so Ironbound will likely be passing through these waters again and again. When we come back, we're hunting for shark teeth, but not from just any shark, the granddaddy of them all, the Megalodon. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Shark Watch Today. Did you know sharks are constantly losing their teeth? So the next time you go looking for shells on the beach, keep an eye out because sharks' teeth are everywhere. But imagine coming across a shark's tooth that belonged to the shark the size of a school bus in Florida and other parts of the country. Well, if you look really hard and get lucky, you could walk away with a piece of shark history. It's the making of hair-raising movies. No. Apex predators lurking in the oceans, waiting for that precise moment to make a move, to attack. The Megalodon, one of the largest predators to ever roam the depths of the ocean. What was a Megalodon?
They were the tough guys of the ocean.
And although some people think they've seen one, today this species is extinct. Zach Franaka has been searching for the past on the seabed for over 40 years.
You're holding a piece of history, and if you're willing to search and brave the waters, you can be rewarded, and this is proof.
Megalodons lived approximately 16 million years ago. They were as big as a school bus and weighed over 50 tons, nearly triple the size of today's great white sharks, surviving on early species of dolphins, whales, manatees, and seals. Are we sure that there are no more Megalodons out there? This is ancient history.
Yes, the shark has been extinct for millions of years, but there are still people who would love to believe, and probably do believe, that the Megalodon exists in the depths somewhere.
On this day, Venice, Florida, the shark tooth capital of the world, is our spot for some digging. So where are we?
So we are getting ready to pass Snake Island, and we'll be making our way west out of the Venice jetties.
And the hunt is for
Megalodon teeth.
That's right, teeth. Some sharks have 7 rows of teeth that continuously push forward and fall out. It's the biggest shark that nobody's ever seen. It's called the Megalodon. Extinct, but it left behind some fossils, and we're going in to find some. About 15 feet down, we spot what we set out to find.
What is that? I found the tooth to a Megalodon shark.
Just out here in the Gulf of Mexico.
Just out here in the Gulf of Mexico.
Waiting for you to find it.
It's waiting millions of years.
These waters are rich with discovery. Gotta ask you, what do we have here? What is that?
That is a sliced section of whale rib bone. Now, whether it was eaten or not, most likely was.
But this is...
That is a fossil.
It is fossilized. It is,
Oh,
it
yeah.
is like a rock.
That's right.
It's no surprise searching for Megalodon teeth has become a phenomenon.
Megalodon teeth tend to be almost an American icon. There's a lot of variation in them. You can always find a better one. You can always buy a better one. It's got everything you need, really, in a fossil.
Tourists flock to beaches around the country to join the hunt from the shore.
It's kind of addicting. You just scoop it out, put it in, and shake it and see what we can find.
Look at all these little teeth.
For Zach, fossil hunting is personal. a skill he learned from his father as a child, now a passion he's passing on to his own kids. So your kids will be finding these when you're long gone.
My kids, their kids, those teeth will be there for generations.
It's not just a hobby. Zach has a business. In fact, he sells those teeth for up to $50,000. As for the megalodon, the biologists and the experts sort of suggest that as water temperatures changed, their food source disappeared ultimately. Coming up, why are sharks disappearing? We're diving into the research and what can we do to help them. Later, the effects of coastal urbanization on shark populations. Welcome back to Shark Watch. As we've seen, sharks are incredible animals and the apex predator. They play vital roles in our ecosystem. Unfortunately, many species are also facing extinction. Sharks, more than 500 species in the undersea world, the top predator of the ocean's ecosystems. But this morning, troubling news. The most extensive worldwide reef study ever reveals shark populations on a steep decline. Scientists saying in many cases, sharks are functionally extinct.
Functionally extinct means that there may still be some animals out there, but they're not enough to fill their ecological role. For years, we've known that the sharks that live way out offshore have been in real trouble, but we didn't know how sharks on coral reefs were doing. And so we wanted to figure out where are those sharks in trouble, where are they doing well, and ultimately, how can we help them?
5 years ago, marine biologists at Florida International University started the Global Fin Print Study, focusing on sharks attracted to reefs, like tigers and hammerheads. If coral reefs are sort of like a smorgasbord for sharks, what did you uncover?
Well, what we found is that in about 20% of the places we went to study, we saw no sharks at all, which means they're basically extinct from an ecological perspective in those reefs.
Getting the data was a monumental undertaking. Underwater cameras placed on more than 370 coral reefs around the world. Collectively, more than 2 years of continuous, non-stop footage of what was there, and most importantly, what they found was not showing up. What's the technology to do this? I mean, it seems like it must be pretty challenging to look at reefs around the world underwater.
Yeah, so people thought we were crazy when we started this 5 years ago, but the technology for underwater cameras finally got small enough and cheap enough that we could put together a network of more than 100 scientists to work in 58 nations and collect 15,000 hours of video with bait in front of it so we could count how many sharks were in each place.
The worst cases, reefs in the Dominican Republic, the French West Indies, Kenya, Vietnam, and Qatar, where not one shark was detected.
20% of the places we go, we didn't see any sharks at all, and a bunch more places we saw far fewer sharks than we should have. I mean, that shows we have a crisis. Hundreds and hundreds of hours of video, and we see more trash bags than we see sharks, and that's really concerning because, you know, these predators are probably important to having healthy oceans.
The study's findings, a warning that scientists believe is now a challenge for mankind. What do you think is causing the decline in sharks, and what role does man have to bring them back?
Yeah, so it's all about overfishing. We're just catching too many sharks, and that's
so it's our fault.
Yeah, it's people's fault. We're catching too many because we want their fins or we want the meat.
Can fishermen use a different method that won't necessarily wipe out sharks?
Some of the methods that are being used in particular areas catch kind of anything out there. They don't target the fish that the fishers want. So just a little change in the gear they use can make a big difference for sharks.
But some good news too. The study also found sharks are abundant in countries where sharks are protected by government fishing regulations, notably off the United States, Australia, the Bahamas, French Polynesia, and the Maldives.
There are still places with healthy shark populations, and we see when governments and communities work together, they can protect their sharks and have healthy reefs. So you can have both. You can have fishing, you can have healthy reefs, and now we've developed the toolkit to help governments do that.
Researchers believe with the indisputable video evidence, governments and the fishing industry can now work to protect reefs and rebuild shark populations.
For the health of the oceans, this is important because
if you're going to have healthy oceans, part of the mix is having healthy populations of top predators like sharks. So it's not just about sharks, it's about the whole ecosystem, but we need all those components if we're going to have thriving ecosystems in the oceans that support what people need.
Shark populations in the world's oceans have declined by an alarming 71% since 1970. Experts say they hope that with proper regulation we can avoid seeing extinction. As part of the effort, some researchers have looked to human medicine for inspiration, like performing sonograms on sharks. Just 3 miles off the coast of Miami, researchers bait hooks, and within 45 minutes, they've caught a shark.
We've got a nurse shark right now.
For decades, the only way to study a shark's reproduction was to sacrifice the shark and the baby pups inside.
You cut them open, you look inside, and you count. But, if the goal is to conserve threatened species and to learn more about their biology and behavior, that obviously doesn't make sense.
Because you're killing them.
Because you're killing them.
Enter a twist on human technology.
Start to see the heart cavity.
The sonogram, commonly used in OB/GYN offices, is now portable and waterproof. Killing pregnant sharks no longer required. The newly found images are stunning.
You're a scientist, and I know you treat things very scientifically, but do you feel a little connection there when you're looking at that image?
It's pretty amazing when you see those little faces at you. You can't help but feel connected.
Increasingly, sharks like this sandbar shark are rare. Researchers at the University of Miami say some species have declined 90% or more in some areas over the past few decades. Despite their reputation as man-eaters, experts believe they need protection.
Shark populations help keep our oceans clean. They do a very fundamental work for us.
Sharks travel hundreds, some thousands of miles a year. So the idea of protecting them all out there, scientists say, it just won't happen. But if they can at least find out where they give birth, they can set up safe zones.
You just got to do it in some of these important critical areas, like the ones they might be aggregating to feed or to mate or to give birth or to gestate. And today we're trying to solve that puzzle and find those missing pieces.
Solving a puzzle with a window into the belly of the beast. For today, Kerry Sanders, NBC News, off the coast of Miami. It's quite incredible to see those animals so up close and personal. When we come back, the effects of coastal urbanization on sharks. Welcome back to Shark Watch Today. 40% of people in the United States live along our nation's coasts. In 2021, we had the opportunity to join them as those researchers looked at the urbanization effects on sharks in the waters. Miami, with more than 2.5 million people and one of the nation's busiest ports and waterways.
We don't necessarily think of sharks so close to the city, but they are.
Absolutely. I mean, where there's salt water, there's a chance of seeing a shark.
So how's Kerry doing? Are you getting ready to release her?
Yeah, she's doing good. So we're going to take a blood sample from her.
Researchers at the University of Miami Rosenstiel School are studying city sharks, how urbanization affects sharks swimming along our coastlines.
The new normal is big cities, coastlines, urbanization. And I think we're missing a lot about the ecology of animals if we kind of don't really focus on, how these animals are responding to human pressures.
What about the big city?
Sharks try to avoid people, and they certainly don't like the disturbance of human activities. Surprisingly, we've been tracking sharks, and we find that they do come in close, and they come right up to the shoreline. How are they dealing with some of the threats from coastal urbanization, like poor water quality or noise and chemical pollution?
We joined the shark research team as they tagged sharks along the coastline as part of their ongoing study.
I originally thought that we would pretty much see no shark activity here, but we're finding across the species that we've been tracking, which are bull sharks, great hammerheads, black nose, black-tip sharks, nurse sharks, they are using the city.
The scientists collect data from the sharks to study their movement, behavior, and health.
These nurse sharks stay in this area
long period of time.
To our surprise is that we didn't really find any effect of the boat traffic on shark behavior. In fact, it seemed like on days with the highest boat activity, which were holidays like July 4th or during weekends, the sharks' habitat use was pretty much the same as it was during weekdays or times where there was no boat activity.
So it's like an interstate and the sharks are just fine with it.
It might be because they're just so used to it. So I think the next part of it is to go to areas that are, let's say, roads less traveled, lower boat activity, and see how sharks might respond to more boat noise.
The study looking at what happens above and its effect below in the ocean. I joined Dr. Hammerschlag on a dive just off the coast of Miami.
Actually on an airplane flying over Miami at night. Everything was lit up by city lights, and it made me think about how there's really nowhere where an animal could escape the urbanization.
So sharks in the city at night, this is all lit up. Are those lights drawing sharks, scaring sharks away? Any impact?
I think that basically the lights might attract small little bait fish, which attract bigger fish, which attract sharks that are out hunting for those fish.
And the study also looks at the impact of pollution.
I mean, there's all types of stuff down here, structure for them to rest under. Lawn chairs, toaster ovens, and I mean, you name it. And when there's a hurricane, more and more stuff blows in here that just provides artificial habitat for them. The nurse sharks here are actually doing really well. It seems to be better off in terms of their physical condition than the nurse sharks in more kind of further south and more pristine areas, which was also surprising to us.
Researchers are hoping soon they'll have a clearer idea of what impacts we're making living on top of their coastal habitats. Sharks in the city.
The reality is most of the world's population lives near the coast. So I think it's really important to study how animals are responding and whether, this type of urbanization affects the behavior and health of these animals, and making sure that humans and sharks can coexist.
Perhaps the most interesting thing I learned is that researchers have hydrophones in the water that allow them to hear where the sharks are, and that will allow them to help identify where the sharks continually go, and, well, where swimmers might want to stay out of the water. We told you earlier, one way to find out where sharks are is checking in with O-Search. They tag sharks so that they can study their movements. Well, in 2019, a mysterious cluster of great whites off the coast of North Carolina captured the attention of scientists and the public at large. This morning, there's a mystery in the water.
We got something online. We haven't seen it yet.
4 great white sharks all hanging out off the coast of North Carolina's Outer Banks this past month.
As the water warms up down south, they'll push north. They like that 60-degree-ish water.
Researchers with O-Search tagged all 4 sharks with tracking devices last fall when they were in Nova Scotia.
Inner clasp for 48 centimeters.
Now they're back together, circling off of North Carolina, and O-Search is watching their every move.
I'm fascinated by, wow, what significant life is there?
Sea life, that is. A shark smorgasbord.
Yeah. Go Jefferson!
O-Search names each great white they tag. This group, Cabot, Jane, Jefferson, and Hal. Hal weighing in at more than 1,400 pounds.
We're going to need a bigger needle.
As summer approaches, the great whites will be on the move.
Once that temperature really shifts, these animals will start moving, and they will move fast, and they will move with purpose to the northeast.
Tourist destinations like Cape Cod are already on alert, looking into ways to keep beachgoers safe after a man was killed by a shark in Wellfleet last summer. Another likely summer destination, the South Shore of Long Island. O-Search says great whites will soon be headed there to give birth. He says there's no need for fear, but beachgoers need to be aware.
I mean, these things are the king of the ocean. They go wherever they want.
Shark experts say the giant predator is a sign of a healthy ocean.
To have them off your coasts is a great thing. It means you're doing a good job looking after your resources.
Sharks will travel an astounding 150 miles a day as they're out there searching for food. That's our show. We hope you've enjoyed this look into the movements and mysteries of sharks. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.